Have you ever felt like you just searching for an AI framework and just nothing just seems to meet your needs? You either finding a framework that abstracts too much from you and you keep fighting with the framework just to get some of the basic functionality that you want to edit for a particular use case, or it doesn't have quite the evals built in, and you kind of have to put spans and traces everywhere just to see what's actually happening so you can try and debug as your application grows, especially with AI agents, or you just feel like the framework just can't scale at all. You build this amazing product, but it's only great as a POC. And as soon as you put on a production server, it only can handle so many requests per second, and it just bogs everything down. So I went through a lot of different frameworks in the last 2 years, and I kind of stumbled on AI SDK by Vercel. I fell in love with the framework. Reasons just being it was simple. It just simplified the API call, which is all I really cared about. It allowed streaming, and it also did structured outputs. And I could build generative UI applications relatively easy with it. And I just loved the TypeScript nature of things, especially if you're using AI coding agents to help generate code, because you could lint test your code before even running it and not catching things at runtime. I really like that. Mastra is the new framework that's just come out. This is a YC-backed company, and they're building a platform based on this framework that they're making here, which is essentially a Vercel AI SDK wrapper. But what I like of what they've done is they've really made some of the general things that you'll do with most AI applications very easy to manage. One is like just normal workflows, routing, and just like the testing environment that they kind of trying to push forward. I feel like it's just a very powerful way of doing things, and I really like it. And they're also using Vercel AI SDK, and I'm kind of sold on that framework, which I mentioned before. So very hyped about what they've got here and what they've shown so far. There are a few little things about it. You can't um, sell the service that you use Master to other clients, so you have to be very careful with that. But you can always build, your AI frameworks and host it for yourself internally, and potentially use it in your products, which is great. So, nonetheless, let's just jump straight into it. So, what is mastra.ai? Well, like I said before, Mastra is an open source TypeScript framework. It's designed to give you primitives and helps you build AI applications with, a lot of the expected features. One thing they have done is they've built in a lot of the common AI techniques that you'll need to do. And that's like from, especially in RAG, you've got chunking techniques, embedding search. Another thing I also like what they did with their memory is they put semantic search part of their memory. So if your model does need to recall something and it's trying to retrieve it from memory, it can actually use the semantic value to grab it earlier. It does mean you have to have the right database to use all of that, but I just find it really great in terms of what they're trying to design and how they're thinking about everything. And I think it's still the start. I think they've got a long way to go, but everything they've shown here is really great. So let's just jump into how will we create a model. How do we start with Mastra here? So the command's quite simple. It's just, create Mastra pretty much. So we're going to run that now. And essentially, you can just create your Mastra app. We're going to just use the defaults. We're also going to include agents and workflows, and then we'll go from there. So let's just wait while it installs quick. One thing I should also state is you will be running what they call the master client, but you don't actually have access to the code. It runs on the back end, and it allows the developer experience to be a lot more fluid than what you used to. So we'll go through that in a bit now. So I'm just initializing the example, and there we go. All right, so you can see it's installed there. We can just go into the new app, and we can literally just run the dev side, which is great. So this is going to spin up a Mastra server, and the Mastra server has a lot going on for it. So you'll see here it has the Mastra API, which you can actually call it directly using a function call. You've also got the JSON, you've also got the Swagger API, and you also have the port. So the API, you can actually come here and do checks with each one, which is quite, I think, very great. And this is going straight to the server. So this is the Mastra playground. And this is what I'm most excited about Mastra, is they make the AI development feel so much easier than it's ever been before, that you just have code and you have an environment that you can run tests and see logs and traces all in one platform. I don't think most of you might not understand how awesome this is just to have as a dev server. You don't have to connect via different open telemetry calls and manage it on two different browsers. You can kind of do everything in one place, and we'll go through a bit of that now. So this is a start here. We've got the agents. We've got weather agent. And then here we can go to tools, and we can see the weather agent has a tool. It has weather tool call, and in the workflow, we can even see the different steps. And just to show where that is coming from, in our source package that it made for us, it made this agent folder, and this literally has that weather agent we were looking at earlier. There's the name, and then there's the instructions and the tools that it has access to. Same with the tools. It creates a weather tool at the top here, which is we're going to be using in our weather agent, and our workflow, which has a lot of different steps, well, just two in this case, and pretty much this forms the workflow over here. So it's got the trigger schema, the step, and then the then step, and then the end, pretty much. And all of these are registered in the master here, so you kind of have to make them append things into the master call. And you see you put your workflows, your agents, and you can create different loggers according to here, and it'll all be captured. So just looking at all how all of these works, let's just jump into it. So what I do like is you can play with the agents right here. I just realized I need to take this off screen and just put my API keys in. All right, we're back. All right, so we can just go straight to the player with our agents. We can come right here. It's like, what capabilities do you have? And we can see you can provide us weather. Uh, and we can also do things like this. What's the weather in London? And it can run through. What I do like is, again, the traces. And in here, you can come to each trace and see what's going on. So we can go into the stream trace and see what happens. So this is like the first response. What is the weather in London? And we can see it try to get memory. There wasn't really much memory to get, so those responses are empty. And then here we can see the stream calls that it was trying to do, and even the tool calls that were coming through. So we can see it hit the AI tool call, and it was the weather agent. And we can see how long it took. So very, very handy to have indeed. Let's go to the tools. So what I do like is you can test individual tools as well. So you can actually run this and see what the tool call is going to give back. Um, so and it just makes the dev experience a lot quicker. If you're trying to just see how things are working, you then give the option when you're running, you'll see these log drains here. You can enable certain logs in your AI applications to just be shown straight on the screen if you're using what they show in their documentation. I just think that's just such a great user or developer experience because you're not really having to jump through the code and back just to test things. You can kind of iterate through here very quickly. For example, I can just jump here and just go iteratively through each one and also just get a high level of what everything I'm working with. And the workflows as well, you get to see visually what your workflows look like. And I think this kind of gets a bit tedious sometimes when you're working with AI workflows. It can look quite messy, even though at the bottom here we know it's getting these three steps. It sometimes feels hard to picture this in our heads. Just having a visual workflow is just great. And again, you can come here and run an example. So the one thing I will say about the workflows, it doesn't really print out here. I don't know why. It prints out in the main console. So we can see here it's printing each one. And it's doing the planning, the morning activities, and etc. So in terms of like my first looks at Mastra, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but Mastra framework is it just tries to simplify your dev experience to another degree and just allows you to focus more on the AI agentic side of things to first off put evals and testing in. I didn't even touch on, they also have their own custom evals that you can put in place, which I find quite useful. So, for example, we can, there's this consistency one. There's also, so where is it? We can do, let's just do toxicity because it's quite an easy one. And you can pretty much put a toxicity eval, put it into your model. So when it runs, it'll always give you results. And you can see that in here, if you go to your agents and you go in here, um, and you go the eval section, it'll actually show you the evals that came from that run and what all the metrics were for all of it. So it just allows you to kind of test things very iteratively as a developer and see how things look. Again, this is just to be, it's a quick way to do experimentation. You always will want to have more robust implementations in place to really make this flow feel more natural and more future proof, especially if you want to do RAG systems. You might want to do more of a batch approach of testing, so a larger volume to actually see if the results are consistent or not. And this might not work 100%, and you might want to have your own eval system, that you can actually batch that and run it. But this is a great way if you're just trying to do quick testing to debug certain thing. I think this is really great. I highly recommend you checking Mastra, and I'd really appreciate you drop any comments down below and let me know if you have any questions or any other things I should go into more detail on. But I appreciate your time, and we'll see you at the next video.